Hi there, welcome to the video. So today, partially talking about the Dylan Rounds case, acknowledging the comments from last night, as well as the body that was found in the early days of the investigation. A few little details around that, see if we can generate any talk, any further discussions there. And that's like looking at the comments from last night. As well, I can provide to you some of my predictions, thoughts and opinions on the case community, as well as a channel update too, we tie it all in together now because I think it's about time. Okay. So welcome to those who are present, watching in the live premiere right now. I appreciate that. Shout out to Maria last night for her presence, for her super chat. It was very good of her. As for today, feel free to share your thoughts, opinions, and reactions in the live chat on the right-hand side. As for polls, I actually did a random poll on my channel page in the community tab section. Feel free to check it out and vote. I might do more in the future because I never thought that community posts were of much value. I thought it was a complete waste of time. But when you go into YouTube studio mode and you look at the statistics, it can have impressions. Like within the last 7 to 28 days, about 13,000 people have seen my community tab post in some way or another, but didn't participate in it. They just saw it. It was presented to them in some way or another by YouTube. You know, when it comes to impressions, it's a very interesting statistic, and I might even talk about it in a separate individual video someday. As well, it even gave a statistic of people who've subscribed because of community post, which is very unique and I never thought of before. And the reason being is because when it comes to a community post on the page, you're only putting it on your channel. It's not exactly being displayed by YouTube elsewhere. So I don't know how people came across it, but they did. And it led to a positive, right? So maybe a few more community posts in the future, maybe more photo-based. You know, if I do take photos and stuff, share more of them. Like when I'm taking photos of plants, I used to do it on Instagram, but I can't be bothered with that. Right, I can't really be bothered there. So maybe I just do it on YouTube here and there, just kind of random, as well as the odd few polls. If I don't do polls here, I do polls on the page and people can feel free to vote along. At some point, I might do a poll about what cases are people following or what do the majority think regarding covering another one. Stuff like that. I did it in the past. It was somewhat successful, so no harm in trying it again. I said, welcome to anyone that is watching. Yes, this is about Dylan Rounds in one way or another, predictions for the future, as well as covering the comments from last night, going back over them to answer any questions. If there's any additional key, interesting information regarding the case, regarding that body found at the start of the investigations by Heavy D back in 2022, first week of Dylan being reported missing, etc. That's what we can do. And a channel update. So let's head on over to the YouTube comments now and begin. Here we are. I'm going to adjust it to the newest. We do have a couple to get through. Some longer comments here in depth, which is all good to see. Yeah, the comment what I mentioned in last night's video, I hope people read and understand the title from last night. Had to make sure about that. I'll explain in a second. Skeptical saying, I'm just tuning in. I'm very interested in revisiting the early days of the Dylan Rounds case. Thank you for this analysis, Warlight Raf. I'm sure it will spark some comments and questions. Let the remisking begin. It's all good there. Yeah. So last night, because we're talking about that body found within the Dylan Rounds case and investigation, I had to put in brackets, not Dylan. Because firstly, it wasn't Dylan. And secondly, I had to try and fit it into the title one way or another. Because if I didn't, obviously there would be an uproar and people would get very whiny about it. I know other people say, yeah, but the rest have packed up and left elsewhere. Well, statistically speaking, you can argue that's true. For the last 2-3 weeks, statistically, I've been a complete failure as for this channel, but there have still been things that needed to be covered, regardless, okay? But as for the problematic people, you know, I wouldn't say they've all left. People come and people go. That's the best way of wording it. It's like, you know, you think they've gone and then they magically appear down the line. Anything can happen. If I can come across pathetic excuses of humans from years ago, from different cases or communities, and they come back, you know, the ones that caused problems back then, and then they pop up once again years on, then really anything is possible. But that aside, we got Tom's comment here saying, has anybody said if they saw any footprints of Dylan anywhere near the grain shed? You know, I'm going to be honest, you know, when it comes to the exact location, I've no clue. It'll either be the grain shed property or Dylan's farm, okay? Where Candice Cooley said supposedly there was footprints within the area. And, you know, one of those cases, oh, supposedly, that's what she said. Can we believe her? Well, Candice Cooley did actually record some footage on her phone, which was then passed on to Mob Crew Chris, in which Mob Crew Chris, when he was interviewing Candice Cooley in the past, played the footage on his channel. Now, the quality was very poor and pixelated, so it was hard to visualize it, right? I don't know if anyone else has seen it. I think I caught a quick glimpse once, but I didn't look at great detail. It wasn't that clear to see either. But it looked like Candice Cooley was walking around, had the phone pointing down at the ground. I don't know, in certain areas, the way it went up and down the dips, I wasn't sure if it was nearer to the dirt mound, the grain shed property, compared to Dylan's farm. Something about that area. Because I'm sure Candice Cooley did say in an East Idaho News Channel interview at a later point, said that she was going up to the dirt mound and she was walking around it, and around the base of it there was footprints going around it. What was that all about? Yeah, a bit mixed and matched, that. If anyone wants to or can provide further context behind it, you're welcome to in the chat, in the comment section down below. Tom also says, if anybody finds any information about the body that was found by Heavy D's crew, please let us know what you have found. Cleo here, perfection, Warlight Ref, lots of links to look back on, retrace for the sake of Dylan, appreciate Warlight Ref, patience, and most of all, that third eye on my forehead. Someone here called Linda, a different Linda this time round, a new one, saying, oh no, rain. I don't know what she was referring to there, whether it be the rain in Lucin at the time or the rain in the intro of my video. At least for here right now, where I'm at, no rain, terrible weather, hot, uncomfortable, can't even really focus when doing videos, awkward when sleeping because of the poor weather. It's just very bad. Take in mind the, you know, the way it just switches and changes in the UK is a bit erratic. You know, you might as well say the UK weather has bipolar, okay? Tom's comment here, one of the tough things on this case is that so many videos have been taken down. Nothing we can do about that. Tyler Feller early had a lot of information. Okay. Are you referring Tyler Feller involved in the videos being taken down? Or are you not grouping that person with the stuff you just said? You know, from my, you know, memory, recalling things. Doug, no thanks. All his coverage on the Dylan Rounds case has gone, obviously because his channel being terminated. Salty Pancakes, virtually same exact thing there for most of the coverage. Anybody else? Jim Terry? Yeah, kinda. Anyone else? Does anyone else have any? Let me know down below. Is it a complete downfall? Wow. I guess it depends, right? If it's a channel or a video which talks a lot of nonsense, BS, or rumours, stories, not 100% facts, then it's not a major loss. Depends how you look at it, right? I guess the interviews with Candice Cooley and Doug, some form of value, maybe you could argue, and now they're gone. But hey, at least it was all noted down, the information talked about, at least in my videos where I bullet pointed it all. Now, to find each individual video probably would be a bit difficult, right? But I'd say most of them are there on my channel. Okay, so that helps in some way. So, Tom, when you do say that quite a lot of the videos have been taken down, how do I word this? Well, you say many videos have been taken down. You don't say most, which is true. Because technically, I do fill up the portion of the Dylan Rounds case coverage just by the sheer numbers of videos I've made on this case. So even if videos are taken down, the majority of them are still mine and all of them are still up. Just as a little fact, not a single Dylan Rounds video of mine has been taken down, okay? Some people might think, oh, but what about that one video out there which was uploaded and then not and then re-uploaded? That was just because it was either uploaded as a standard video when it should have been a live premiere, so I just had to redo it. Or there was a technical issue or YouTube screwed me over, so I had to re-upload it. But, you know, all the videos are there. Okay, not had any issues there. Even when the odd person tried doing a privacy complaint for no good reason, false report, videos stayed up for a reason, right? So it was all under control there. And Tom, you feel that some key videos out there have gone? Well, I did analyse it on my channel, the key points from those videos, so it's not exactly lost, right? Reply? Skeptical? Hi, Tom. I miss the Tyler Feller days. A welcomed place to get a calm perspective on otherwise drama-filled channels. Black Dove and Tyler were the perfect combination of intelligence and focus. I remember the Tyler Feller video I heard first mentioned from Black Dove that he was in poor health. They were interviewing a local female who knew Chase very well and Kurt. I wonder if it's still available. I'd enjoy hearing Black Dove's voice. Is that the one about Ellen Berg or something? On another note, I missed the moment way back when Brookie was outed for lying that she had visited JB in jail. Do you remember anything about that moment? I remember Black Dove trusted Brookie and praised her investigative skills often. Must have been devastating for him. Thanks in advance for taking the time to respond. See, this is the thing. Maybe because it's emotionally driven, you know. It's grouped together that a lot of people are emotionally invested in this case. And that's where the first problem begins. The moment you're emotionally invested, your judgment, your decision-making skills are impaired in some way or another. A level of biasness may creep in. A level of false trust is present. And that's why people have been screwed over, right? You try and eliminate all those factors. You try and not get too attached to the case or certain people within it. You'll have it under control. But a lot of people, that's where they failed, okay? Got Glenn once again, consistent, skeptical. Ooh, skeptical is kind of on fire at the moment with all these comments coming out, so that's fine. So it's interesting. I was going to ask what the relationship was between JB and Chase Venstra because it struck me as a possible theory that Chase Venstra harmed Dylan and James Brenner tried to cover it up for Chase Venstra. But why would he do that if James Brenner beat up Chase Venstra and stole his guns? But for the locals in that area, it's nothing to beat up each other up and steal from each other. I just don't think Brenner put up much of a fight in terms of pleading his innocence. Has he ever pleaded his innocence? He might have passed the blame on to somebody else like Chase Venstra, but he didn't directly say, I have no role. I've got nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying? If Brenner really was set up, if some people truly believe that Brenner didn't even take part that much, and yet Brenner was the one that was willing to reveal the location of Dylan Brown's burial when he reached out to his attorney. Although it might have been short-lasted and denied, turned down by the parents, there was a moment of him opening up in some way, in a way accepting some kind of responsibility, right? If you know the location of the buried person, then technically, in some way or another, you do play a role within the case. JB gets arrested and charged with harming Dylan, decides to tell the truth to KR. Who's KR? And family. Oh, Karen Rounds' grandmother. and family vote was Chase Venstre. JB video of him cleaning a gun could be just that, cleaning. We all know how JB likes to clean, does he? Desecration could be a form of cleaning by moving a body away from the crime scene. Talk to my lawyer is an interesting statement by JB, but then, to me, everything about this case is interesting, including the cast of the characters, which includes the family. Right, so the bit where she quoted, talk to my lawyer, that's what Brenna said. That's the last thing Brenna said to, I guess, one of the family members. When did it happen exactly? Was it sometime in 2022 or so? There was that Heavy D interview, the second one in the Greenshed property. Justin Rounds told his story of things, how Brenna called him, and they had a talk, and the blame was passed on to Chase Venstre, the one responsible, and then it ended there. Justin Rounds also said that at a later point, Karen Rounds' grandmother reached out, or vice versa, to Brenna, and basically said to him that he was wrong and he lied about this, and these are the real facts, this is the real information. Brenna didn't like hearing that, didn't like being told and talked to in that way. Then he resorted into, right, that's it, I'm out, talk to my lawyer from now on, game over. So, talk about burning bridges down. Obviously, you don't want to be making contact communication and being all nice and respectful towards someone that may have or may have not killed your son. From the looks of it, had. You don't want to do that, but if it leads to a successful outcome, finding the son, then why not on that occasion? Oh, skeptical again. My favourite Dylan Rounds video is the Heavy D sketchy search video. Sorry, Warlock Raff, all of your videos are a close second because we get to see Candice Cooley and hear her thoughts and comments before her story started to change and evolve. So like raw material right from the get-go. Maybe the first. Would you argue that Heavy D was the very first person to cover the case on YouTube, to document it in some way? He might have not made that many videos at all, only about 2, but 2 were enough to get the story out there. I mean, I think the videos have got like millions of views, so clearly it was a success in that way. But as a one-off video, people were informed by it, millions. But did those millions continue watching and watching the case evolve? No, they didn't. So as for longevity, no. But as for at the time, hard hitting. Heavy D went down June 2nd. Did he? So you're saying Heavy D went down June 2nd, recorded it all on that day, and then it was uploaded June 8th, June 9th, as you could tell by the details on the video at the time. June 2nd, that's even more fresh. Now, did Heavy D go down there because he was contacted by the family? Or did he reach out to the family? Which way round was it? What else? I paused the video for this brief observation. Chase Venstre couldn't have been at Dylan's farm or the Greenshed property on the 28th if he was asking about in Montello on the 29th, where Dylan's farm was located. Mind-blowing, and I want to believe that it's true, only if we were to believe tweaking, thieving liar, and some have said an excellent mechanic, although he didn't have a working vehicle. That could have simply lied about not knowing where Dylan's farm was to cover his ass. I have a feeling that when I restart the video, Warlock Raft might also make this point. Did I? Right. Chase Venstre couldn't have been at Dylan's farm or the Greenshed property on the 28th, if he was referring on the 29th. Well, yeah, true. I said the story has evolved since. Heavy D mentioned that at the start there. Never really been brought up again, though. See, this is the thing. Whilst the story can change and adapt, evolve, and some dates are tweaked with, certain events have never been referred to ever again, and they're the ones you should probably focus on the most and get to the bottom of, right? If they've been left untouched, despite all the other mess elsewhere, gun and key fob, vehicle being pressure power washed, etc., and yet a date like this, Chase Venstre wanting to know where Dylan's farm is at, wanting to go down, thank him, or do something to him or with him. And yet it's never really been brought up again by the family. The backhoe, never really been brought up again by the family. Certain events like that are interesting when they're not altered with. Skeptical saying pause again. So Skeptical was leaving comments throughout watching this video. I get that because I don't think she was in the live chat at the time. So to be honest, this is probably a good way around it, leaving your comments, and you know, you divided it all up through the video. That's all good, that. So pause the video to vote on the poll. Is Luce in Utah filled with ranchers and meth heads, as mentioned by Heavy D in his sketchy search video? No, Lucin is not. I've been there. True. I would describe it as a ghost town, if you can even call it a town. But I believe Heavy D was speaking in the broader sense of the area, including Montello, although it's in Nevada and miles away, and the surrounding area like Pilot Valley, which is the case. Closer to the Nevada border, you'll find more ranchers or residents and what has been stated by locals in other videos, tweakers. Wandering, squatting and stealing from said residents. It would only take one of them to catch wind of a 19-year-old with money to get their attention. Dylan met Chase Venture's son randomly in a store, and Dylan asked him, the son, if he could be interested in day labour. Once Chase Venture finds out his son is working for Dylan, Dylan's farm becomes a place of interest. I guess so. I do agree, though, that it was an exaggeration, especially the part about squatters coming out of nowhere. Maybe it's an exaggeration, but surely some squatters came out there to look, who were intrigued, because the people saying it themselves are the ones that saw it, I believe. Anyway, don't get me wrong, Warlike Ralph, I've always maintained that James Brenner is a huge part of this case, but as you have taught so many, it's okay to question and theorise. By the way, good for you to stand whilst filming. I have a standing desk at work, so I'm not sitting for 8 hours. That's good, yeah? Actually, you probably can, like, not jog on the spot, but just lift your legs up. Now, if you used to do squats whilst talking, the audio would fade out, of course, and my head would pop up and down, but, you know, work around it. And this is when I've done some other videos here and there in the background. I've done it in the same format. And because of where I've got the phone positioned, it's just looking at a wall, not the window, so I'm not going to get distracted as much. So, guess there's no harm. Oh, another comment here. Skeptical. And another thing about the truck and trailer being locked. Dylan would never lock his truck or trailer. But I'll tell you, if I spent even one night in that area, I'd lock my doors and sleep with my gun if I had one. We didn't stay the night at the Sun Tunnels because of impeding storm. Okay. I digress. Would Candice Cooley and crew relock the truck and trailer when they left the area, right? Everyone at some point would have to leave the area so the mysterious key fob and gun returner could gain access to the trailer. You can't see Dylan's farm from standing at the grain shed property, but you can certainly see if anyone was driving or walking on the roads that lead there. Kevin Bibbins' property is within walking and driving distance. Oh yeah, Bibbins' property. I always forget about Bibbins. Yeah. I believe Bibbins KB was the one that highlighted checking Owl Springs and Rabbit Springs out as a possible location where Dylan could be. You remember that video, what we covered in the past? Ever a follow-up there? No, not really, but it was interesting because that location tied in line with a random comment by a random user online talking about their area, saying remains were found there, which I guess was BS, but it's just coincidental how two locations match up in proximity and stuff. Yeah. Anything else to add here? I mean, when Candice Cooley said it to, I think the way she worded it to, my brain gone dead all of a sudden. Basically, when Candice Cooley was referring to it, it was towards Heavy D, and it sounded as if she was saying when they got there, when they got to the property at the time, the first time round, before the gun and key fob was returned back. As soon as they got there, they found that the vehicle was locked and the trailer, right? So, I'm just trying to think. Well, I assume that the key fob to Dylan's truck also has a key to the trailer, right? Am I correct in saying that, at least? Anyway, would anyone have an additional trailer key if the trailer was locked? And why would this potential guilty person lock the truck and trailer, perhaps to keep other squatters and tweakers from stealing what they were trying to steal for themselves. Would Candice Cooley and crew do the same? Lock the truck and trailer so no one else could enter, protecting what's left of Dylan's property? Skeptical and suspicious, maybe, you never know. I do think by locking property, it still seems kind of pointless, because if someone wants something, they're going to go at all lengths to get a hold of it. They see a vehicle and it's locked, they'll just smash the window and may hotwire the vehicle. You know, if they want something, they will do whatever it takes. And I think locking it or not wouldn't have made a difference there. But I think that the person who returned the items back may have locked up to make it seem nothing was out of place. You see, the thing is, whether it be Brenner or somebody else, let's say, on the condition of returning the gun and key fob, and, you know, even leaving the place originally and maybe locking stuff up, right? Is Brenner going to know Dylan Round's patterns of behaviour and routines? Probably not. Brenner isn't going to sit around observing Dylan from the past and think, oh, Dylan gets up at this time and he doesn't lock this, but he does move that, and then he leaves food out on the side, so I'll recreate that all when I go down there the next day. No. Brenner likely wouldn't do that. Brenner wouldn't be aware of Dylan Round's routines, would he? So maybe, even though some people may find it hard to believe, with common sense with Brenner might be thinking, well, if I lock the doors, then it will seem normal. It won't seem out of place. But supposedly, Candice Cooley and the family are used to Dylan's routine of not locking things. So then when they see that it's locked, it's out of place. But Brenner's not going to know that pattern, that trend. So, just a thought. Christy, interesting video. It's like Dylan never existed, very weird. And we've got the frogs as well, Christy, the frogs. Okay. Some very keen observations you made from this one video. Some I never thought of, and I've watched this video tens of times. Wow. Do you think you could do something similar with the Kenny Veach case? I'm very interested, and yet I've not grasped how it all started. I know I could go back and watch your videos, but I was thinking more of a revisit. But you as well. Just a thought. Thanks as always, Warlike Ref, and to all members, subscribers, viewers, commentators, chatters, lurkers, whingers and whiners. Yeah, like, do a summary or talk back over the case of Kenny Veach. Once I loosen up and I'm able to be flexible, not literally, then I'll try and do that. Right. Being away from a case can be difficult with recalling stuff, but we'll see how it goes. Might be shorter, but there is one thing that I can do which will probably help, okay? It may help retell the story and may include new information, just depending. And that's by looking at news reports and articles, again, because there are some to cover. I just need to be in the right frame of mind to cover that stuff. Because in the back of my mind, I'm already frustrated because I already sense, and in a way, I already know that the articles are not going to include any relevant research, are going to tell the same old narrative and BS. It kind of annoys me in a way. But that's only because I've spent so long on the case and I learned more about it because key people came on into it, right? But then all the others out there just disregard it and don't take consideration. So it kind of like falls on deaf ears out there. You know, you covering a case or you do anything, you make any video, of course you want as many people to watch it, you know, whether it be to grow the channel, to grow in awareness, to help solve something, whatever the theme, right? And if it doesn't work out, then that's frustrating in its own right. If you find something very important and critical and you put it out there public and yet just no attempt of other people who may research the case and covering it in their own videos, and it's like, you know, what more are you supposed to do? You can't be in control of everything, can you? So I think when there's the right time and focus, I'll try and, I guess, retell the story of Kenny Veach. Of course, it might be limited because technically the case is more open-ended than Dylan Round's and there's more theories and it's a bit more malleable Got to take that into consideration. Okay. Christy, when I think about how fast Dylan's family cleared all the suspects except Brenner long before we had some of the evidence, makes me think it could have been a setup to eliminate Brenner more than to find Dylan. There's something so not right in this case. We need Brenner to talk. I don't know if Brenner will talk though. Is there any incentives that could make him speak? Would Brenner have any prison visits? Would he allow anyone? Does anyone want to visit him? That's the next question. I mean, the Brookie situation at the time, when people supposedly believed in it, when people at a time were emotionally invested in the case and also desperate for answers, people visualized Brookie as the next coming of Christ with answers and truth. It fell flat very quick, of course. So people were left frustrated, confused, and all sorts. Me? Well, wouldn't really expect much to begin with. That's just me. But yeah, move on. Jacqueline, I don't recollect any prints found in the trailer or the truck in the early video or interviews. Okay, yeah. Did we ever hear who the body was? I've not heard Nate Eaton talk of this find. Right, so we've reached the end of the comments. I think what we can do now is just briefly move on to a small bit of information regarding that body that was found at the start of the case. So here we are with some information regarding the body found out there. Now, the red line is just covering up a name mentioned of an individual that passed on the information. That's only done out of respect for one's privacy. If down the line the person's like, screw it, it doesn't matter, then I'll just mention the name, okay? You know, understandably, it's happened elsewhere, hasn't it? Where other people have been like, I can't reveal my source. I can't reveal where I got the information from. And it is problematic. I understand that. I just mainly do it to avoid problems, okay? I'm not coming out here and saying 100%, this is it and no other way around it. I'm not going to that extent. But it's kind of like a Montello local, okay? Montello local, who's mentioned this, saying that the body that was found by Heavy D and the crew, June the 2nd, supposedly speaking, from what Sketchy said, was near the Salt Flats. He was about 40 years of age and died of a gunshot. She said it was only briefly in the news. Okay, so it was at least reported and appeared in the news, local news. What news channel or news article did it appear on? ABC4, Utah News, KBF, whatever. You know, all those other ones. Does anyone know? Wendover News. Does anyone have any journals, newspapers, online articles, screenshots of this event that occurred back in June 20... Well, don't know if it... Well, we don't know if it did happen in June 2022, but likely it happened at some point in 2022 before June time. Okay. Anyone, if anyone has information, feel free to add on down below. It's all welcome. Although it might not directly link to Dylan Rounds, it's still a mystery within itself, right? And it is a bit of a coincidence, maybe some not known at the time, but looking for Dylan Rounds, a person that was murdered and possibly may have been shot. And then you just happen to come across a 40-year-old who was shot as well, but not disposed of. See, here's the thing. Are we saying that foul play took place with this 40-year-old? Well, if he was shot, first of all, where was he shot? Was he shot in the back, in the front? Was it suicide? Was it accidental? Accidentally shooting himself? Or did someone take him out? And if someone did, where did that firearm go? Where? Location. Okay, Salt Flats. Where's that exactly? Well, I saw one mention last night about location, saying it was south towards Wendover. Now, it would have been close to Lucin saying so. And the reason why is because if Heavy D is doing a flyby, a flyover, he's not just suddenly going to go miles and miles in a different direction away from the place. So it would have been in, I guess, the radius, right? Technically speaking. and they came across a body, which I guess was described as left out in the open within the desert area. How long has it been there for? Unknown. Some people said it could have been there for weeks, maybe a month, but actually, what about the condition of the body? You got to take that into mind. Was there any crows, birds circling it? Was it skeletal remains or still in pretty good condition? If in good condition, then likely it was more recent, right? And to be honest, the more recent it is, and the closer it is to the day of when Dylan was murdered, is there a link? Did that 40-year-old see something he wasn't meant to, and he was silenced? I wonder. Could you put the argument across, even if it's not directly linked to the Dylan Rounds case? Could you argue and say the person that killed Dylan Rounds also killed this 40-year-old? Does anyone agree with that? Because I think that the Dylan Rounds case overshadows this. This, despite the age being older, is just as important as the Dylan Rounds case, but it's faded away. It's not been recognised to the same extent, has it? Until now. That's why the title of this video will be maybe more specific than I originally intended, because this is key information and it's interesting and it's a mystery within itself. Why did it happen to them? Why? Is it linked to Dylan Rounds in any way or not? And who was responsible? And the one responsible, were they involved in the Dylan Rounds murder case? I wonder. So that's what we've got to question, look at. Feel free to share your thoughts, opinions and questions down below. And if you do have any additional information, make sure to share it if you're able to. More so in the comment section so it's easier to read and catch up on, right? So I think what we can do now is just like go on to Google Earth, go on the maps and just take a look at the area, roughly speaking, of where the body was found. Here we are on the maps, just need to adjust myself so we're kind of looking more in the correct direction. I think we probably should be facing south for the best outcome. Okay, so we're currently facing north, and the way it was described by people last night, south. South going towards Wendover down here. So like what, we're talking in between, hold on, somewhere like, oh come on, somewhere like here, where you see the salt flats or the salt lake, and there, like a 20-mile distance in between or so. Not too far from Lucerne, right? Green shed. Okay. Coming down here where it like gets really dry and you see the lakes dried up, the salt. About 10 miles away, going a bit further down, 20 miles, 30 miles, and there's Wendover, about 30, 40 miles. Not a great distance. Now, my question is, the person that was shot, did they have a vehicle parked up anywhere, or were they walking through the desert? Now, what was mentioned, I believe, last night was the person didn't have any shoes on. Now, come on. It's a bit of a strange pattern emerging, right? Previously, you had some talk, whether it be just before or just after Dylan Rounds' disappearance, you had a female on the side of a road waiting to be picked up in Montello, Nevada, when a passerby went by and asked her if she needed a ride. And she said, oh, I'm just waiting to be picked up by my boyfriend. And she was wearing no shoes. Okay. Then before that, or after, 25th of May 2022, you had Chase Venstra, okay, after being beaten up, roughened up by Rancher's husband and some of his guys, teaching him a lesson for being a peeping Tom or something. And then some of the situations as well with in possession of a firearm, a rifle or something, etc., etc. But, you know, you got beaten up and, you know, he's supposedly hiding in a bush or something near Tacoma Road and then got picked up by Dylan. Key thing is, Venstra wasn't wearing any shoes. He didn't have any. Okay. And now we've got Dylan Rounds, right? At one point or another, presumed that Dylan Rounds may have been walking or made to walk without any boots on because his boots were taken away. So whether he was alive at the time or after his death, he had no shoes on him. Okay. And now this one, a 40-year-old at the time, well, probably beforehand, more so, got shot out there, had no shoes on. Why do all these people not have shoes on them? Are they taken away? Or can they not afford shoes? Does anyone know? Like, I can understand it being so hot that it's hard to wear shoes, but you know, you can do like a substitute, right? You know, you borrow Dale's Crocs. That works for the airflow. You know, if you don't wear any shoes at all, you could injure yourself because of the ground being rough and rugged. You could get bit, you could step on something bad, etc. You need some kind of like footwear protection when walking out there. So is it somewhere like round here? Does anyone know? Somewhere round here or more over here? Lucen's over that way north. If anyone knows, if you want to drop a timestamp, is it near Graham? Is it near Graham Peak or not? Or is it more down here, near Leppy Peak? If we need to do a follow-up, if there's additional information, news articles, then I will cover it in a separate video, and I'm sure it'll be somewhat interesting as a sub-mystery. But at this moment in time, there's only limited material we have, so I'm just kind of guessing at the moment, right? As for the area, if it was round here, I mean, yeah, it's kind of desolate and quiet. But then again, you do have these like farm places, ranches, right? So could you say that maybe at one of these farms that 40-year-old was trespassing on or posed as a threat or was trying to steal something and got shot? It was a matter of self-defense. Anyone agree with that? Or do you think it was more like murder? Was it premeditated or not? Let me know your thoughts all down below. I mean, is there much more to say about it? Just for the fact that it's a bit mysterious and it's trying to understand, does it have any correlation with the Dylan Brown's case, or at least the murderer who may have taken out other people in between, earlier or after? Well, more so after or around the same time, based off the dates where people were talking, right? Why was it cut out of Heavy D's video? Maybe because it wasn't appropriate, maybe because it wasn't relevant in a way. But then again, the way people have worded it was uploaded originally, it did mention it about the body, and it showed some additional footage. Then the video was taken down by Heavy D, then it was re-edited and re-uploaded. I would never have known myself with it without other people mentioning it, right? But if that's really the case, why did they think it was a good idea in the first place to upload it? What made them take it down and edit it? Was it the family? Was it the family of that deceased one? When they heard about it? I wonder. And why was it only mentioned briefly? And why has it not been mentioned ever since? Considering a lot of people within this case might like talking about rumours and spreading misinformation and talking about all kinds of stuff going on in the latest of Montello news and out and about, that anything that happens in Montello these days instantly applies to the Dylan Brown's case, even when it probably doesn't. And it's just because the case of Dylan putting Montello on the map more well known and more people referring to it and referencing it, even when it's unnecessary, you know? Why hasn't none of these channels talked about the body ever since? Well, because it's not relevant to the case, but it's still important, right? Still a dead person out there, 40-year-old, around the same age of Chase Venstra, just for information, okay? My next question would be, that 40-year-old, did they live in Montello or Lucin, or were they a passerby? Were they a visitor, a camper, hiker? What's their criminal history like? Repeat offender, done stuff in the past? Did that 40-year-old have any connections with people out there? Was he friends with anyone? Did he know Brenner? Did he know Don Hartley, Chase Venstra, Robert Aviles? Any of them? Did he know Ty Corbin, Lance Kelly, whatever? You know? Is there any connections there? In a way, I wouldn't be surprised, I guess. You know? When you think about it, all these people seem to know one another. Small community. Possible. Endless possibilities. You never know. As I said, I just wanted to make this video to spread awareness, right? I assume it was on this side. On that side, not so much. As I said, if you got a key location, roughly where the body was found, provide a timestamp down below and say it was here where you mentioned Raf. Like this bit, over here, over there, over here, over there. Is it near to Dylan's farm? Is it nearer to the Granger property? Is it nearer to the chop shop, etc.? Now, I'm going to do it right now, okay? June. Are you here? June with the pink profile picture. I'm just briefly going to zoom on in. Take in mind it has changed location since, but I will acknowledge that. Of the chop shop, I want to see if the one you were talking about is the one that I'm referring to. So hopefully June, you're here. If not, if anyone's present, feel free to redirect June to this video because it's important. Zoom on out. Apologies. Oh, I got something in my eye. Oh, I hate it when I got something in my eye. Really annoys me. So, whilst I've got one eye closed, it's like a Bob Farrell situation, this. So June, recently, was referring to what was mentioned in the past, I think, by Ty Corbin, that the road leading to a chop shop, a scrapyard, was closed at the time of Dylan's death, which was a bit odd. Were they preventing people from getting down there for a particular reason? I wonder. Was Dylan Rounds taken down to the chop shop scrapyard to be disposed of? Well, okay, interesting. But which scrapyard are we referring to? Well, the only one I'm aware of, June, is off Dylan's farm. So first of all, we find Dylan's farm. There we go, that's Dylan's farm. But just before that, as if we were going to Sun Tunnels, we need to find that crisscross road, that black one. You know where it crosses over? And we're going kind of southeast of Lucerne. Southeast of Lucerne. Not going down the road to Dylan's farm, but branching off. Which I think passes Little Pigeon Mountains. We follow it all the way down, I believe. Yeah. Goes into more desolate area. You've got Desert Peak in the distance. Follow it off down here to the scrapyard. Hopefully you can see that. Scrapyard. Okay. Dylan's farm being over that way or so. Provide the coordinates in case you're wondering. Middle of the screen. Take it in, let me know. Now, as I said, scrapyard, whether it's in use or not now, it did relocate. This on screen is from 2019. I looked at 2022, 2023 imagery and it did move, right? So I'll just try and refer to that now. Just make sure we're facing the correct way. It moved more east, right? Moved more east. I could be wrong, but I think it might have been near to that. Somewhere down here, like there. I could be wrong, but roughly in the area. It only moved ever so slightly. Don't really know why, but it happened, right? So roughly speaking, is this the scrapyard chop shop you were referring to? Because I know you said you were trying to find my video. I just thought I'd include it here just in case you can't find it. So just let me know your thoughts. Okay, whether it's the same one you're thinking of. Dylan Round's farm is here. Chop shop is down here. Then relocated to near here ever since, whether it's in use or not. So yeah, I think that's it for the maps there. So I don't know if anyone else agrees, but I do feel at times that sub-mysteries of a case can be more interesting than the main case itself. As with this one, because of the way the Dylan Rounds case has gone and it's kind of reached a, I don't know, call it a dead end, more of a standstill awaiting whatever happens next, which could take quite some time. We'll see. We've looked back, we've reflected, which has been important, interesting as well. For the most part of it, I've been satisfied with the coverage, at least on my end, or the suggestions provided as well. Done what's needed to be done, regardless of how many people watch or how many people have walked away from this channel. I've been able to get the videos out there, and it's gone somewhat well, even if YouTube has been a problem at times for many months. But that aside, this case of another missing person, well, not missing, but dead person found out there, mystery in itself. Any more details there? Well, we'll see with time if there is anything. It can be covered in a future video. I guess it's now time for me to give my predictions, future ones on this case. Maybe it applies more so with communities in general. I feel that as time goes on, more and more people detach away from the Dylan Rounds case on a general basis. That's what will happen. I do feel that the people that kind of involved themselves in the case but not directly will come and go, depending on what channels cover the case at the time. I do feel that the slight hint and mixture of drama and conflict, if it does go on and continue, could trickle back to Dylan Rounds, and then it does bring people back, but not all for the right reasons. That can happen. We've seen it happen over and over again. We've seen people get screwed over and over again. We've seen people complain over it over again and not really make much change or difference there, or step back or step away. So it could be a never-ending cycle there. I don't mean to say it always revolves around Dylan Rounds. It could be other cases in general. If there's any disagreements, I think basically what happens is we've seen waves of drama. It's been intensified at times, then it dies down, then it goes quiet, and then there's one channel out there or one set of group or something that makes a reference to past stuff or a grudge with somebody. Just one reference, then it kicks it off all over again, and then it goes on, then it dies down, then the opposite channel then makes a reference, then it kicks off again. It's like people taking it in turns. Is it done because they don't have anything else to cover? I don't know. It seems to be a go-to line that, to assume that people don't have anything else to cover. I think the reality is people will always have something to cover. It's just the success rate that depends on it. And if it's not successful, it might lead them down a different direction, or it might lead them to repeating similar stuff in the past because it worked, right? I'm going to do a separate video on it just in general, but at least if there's been some drama or conflict on my channel, or the way people have called me out or give out false accusations, sometimes very serious, the drama, what did it do? I mean, it caused trouble, disruption, but, you know, from the perspective of where people assume and label that drama equals views. You involve yourself in drama, or you start drama with others out there. You do your videos, you get lots of viewers, YouTube favor you, you do really well. Well, from my experience, when I've been involved or caught up in drama, small-scale conflict, it was not a success at all in that department, in case people are wondering. It didn't lead to more people watching my videos. Did it lead to less? No, not really. If it's still about the case or something to do with the case, then it was like same amount of people as usual. But whilst everyone always jumps on and says drama equals views, well, in my experience, it didn't. It didn't lead to any success. Not at all. Did I expect it to at the time? No. Did I want as many people to hear about the corrections? Well, yeah, because if you're trying to set the record straight about something, you need as many people to hear about it. Just saying, right? But whatever happened, happened. Despite the statistics being low, the positive you could say and argue is, well, in a sense, maybe at times you don't want drama to be successful. Like, you don't want drama to equal lots of views, because then it means having to be negative all the time and be involved in that dark stuff, which isn't healthy. But on top of that, more importantly, it's probably better that many people give fuck all about certain drama, because then it means when you are caught up in it or something happens to you, that people don't care about it. People don't listen, people don't pick up on it, and it's like swept under the rug. So less of a backlash, less damaging. If millions of people hear about it, oh yeah, millions of views, but at what cost? Millions of people being misled and having a negative outlook on you when it's not true. Harder battle to fight against. So there are pros and cons to it all, but at least from my reality, however it works for other people out there, the majority or so, it doesn't work for me. It's different for me. Just like with exercise, just like how the body reacts to certain stuff, it doesn't react the same way to everybody else. Okay, same with the channel. So yeah, as for predictions, case this could go on for a while. I think, if there's any more additional delays or mess ups, whatever, it could go on quite long. Unless you got the odd little news update in between, and it's like a very sharp, blunt update out of nowhere where you're not really expecting it. Long levels of silence, and then boom, suddenly you're hit with an update from the family, and it's like, whoa, what's going on here? Something like that. That's the way I see it happening. But the case, if it's going to drag out, and it's going to take some time, quite some time onwards, and at some point in between, you might suddenly get a sharp burst of info, sharp update out of nowhere, unexpected. That's what I'm going to say. As for the community aspect, if the likes of Bob Farrell sticks around covering the case, and, from the looks of it, Lance Kelly still to this day. Ty Corbin on and off, same with Scott Natal, Les Natal, okay? But in the back pocket, it'll always be mentioned the case. But if there's any references made, as I said, and people get grouped together or referenced, it could kick stuff off once again, right? I think if it does, just basically making it clear that humans won't learn the lesson. It will be a cycle. For as long as the case goes on for, it will be a cycle. But even despite being on different platforms, you could say that the drama has been intensified for, here and there since. So no matter where they are in the world or what platform they're on, if there's a reference point made and there's cross viewers that watch one video and then watch the other, pass on the news and talk, and then other people hear about it, and then it's back and forth past the messenger, past the parcel on, and watch it all unfold all over again. Do I feel that any communities will break down in communication? So what I'm going to say seems to be like a general rule. Besides the one of, if it doesn't happen to you but it happens to other people, that's okay. That's one rule out there. And, there's a few exceptions. It's a bit of a very vague mention, that, and it's a bit of an awkward one, I'll be honest. But I genuinely feel that you could be in contact with people, you could get on well with some, they come from a different community, right? You might not have any problems with them, but then you've got some negative encounters with other characters within the case and community from a different angle, from a different group, different community. Don't get on well with them as a whole or with some. Now, when the time comes, which it already has done, and it could happen again in the future, where there's a breakdown, where things implode, and people escape from one community and kind of group up with the other community, then they're on the same line, the same page, right? If it does break down, which it has done, with then that alliance, and they both come away, certain set, and then form their own subgroup. And if some unsavory characters break away from it and form that cell group with the ones originally from over that way, they're strengthened more than ever. They look out for one another. They cover one another. They become more biased than ever before, right? That's what I'm saying. I'll give you some additional examples shortly, but make sure to stick around. So more so in recent time, I could have come across some knobheads, right? Who may have been around for some time now and have been continuously knobheads, that people from elsewhere have incorporated themselves with these knobheads ever since. That if they never did, and you said to that person over there, hey, you see this guy over there, you see that female, whatever, you see that person, they're problematic. That person over there would say, you know what, yeah, you're right. I come from a different community. I'm like opposition of them. Yeah, I don't really like them either. Yeah, I agree. Fast forward to them connecting and grouping with the knobs over there. Oh, hi there. Yeah. Let's all kiss and make up. Mwah, 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 mwah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Nice lips. Sorry, completely off subject there. Oh, yeah. Let's have fun. Haha. Yeah, let's all hang out. Oh, let's do all kinds of like parties and little chats and talks. Yeah, let's all hug. Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. You're sorry. Oh, we're all sorry. We're all in this together now. Yeah. Girl power, boy power, whatever. Homegirls, unite, whatever. I don't know what I'm saying now. And here I am, over here now, looking. Now they're there. And then if I then mentioned, hey, you know, that dickhead is still referring to me. That other person over there is discrediting me. That person over here is still talking behind one's back and not here, elsewhere. And you, who may have once been wary of them, oh, you're not going to do anything now. Oh, you're not going to agree now. Oh, you're not going to say much all of a sudden now. You might just say, oh, like acting all dumb all of a sudden, confused all of a sudden, biasness. You know, if they disassociate with a certain group of people and you share your experiences with that person who's disassociated or not even connected, they're going to listen more and they may react more naturally. But as soon as they involve themselves with that group of people and you tell them about the people they're surrounded by, they're going to be like, oh, well, it's not happening to me, so unlucky ref, never mind, bye. Yeah. They're all grouped together now. Allegiances. See, I've already seen this in the past, right? It's only just come round to my time of certain experiences. So, kind of knew what to expect, right? Anything else to mention there? I think it's just a general fact of if at a certain point or time where that subgroup implodes, it fractures even more. So early on, you may have had big communities, individual ones or collective. Then they broke down, had their own smaller ones, broke down their own smaller ones, broke down even smaller, like Russian doll, getting smaller each time. So there's that. I think there's a few people out there that might be a bit too soft or a bit too understanding at a time where maybe they're a bit too much on the fence, but it's not done in a way of balance. It's more done in a way of sheer awkwardness, stubbornness, and saving one's own, I don't know, life. Well, not quite. Channel, if they've got one, or reputation. Yeah. I mean, there might be a lot of skeletons within people's closets, possibly. I mean, I've not really covered any other cases where it's attracted this many people with mugshots or previous mugshots. But I'm just trying to think, was it a comment in the Dylan Rounds case or was it just a random video that I saw on YouTube? It might have been a random video, but I can apply it here because I'm sure it has been talked about by the communities and subgroups out there within the true crime community with the Dylan Rounds case and the characters you've heard of, where the odd few people here, the level-headed people, let me tell you something, when it comes to the level-headed people, they appear like that at first and then down the line they do slowly deteriorate. I have actually seen it myself with certain humans and they've shown their dark side for sure. Just being honest, okay? So you get these level-headed people that say, you know, we just got to move on. We've got to move forwards. We've got to forgive. We've got to forget. We just have to move on. Doesn't solve the problem. Sometimes you need to either eliminate the problem or resolve it more directly in a less conflict way. One or the other. Because if it's not resolved, it's not truly fixed, you're just filling in the cracks, kind of, but not actually fusing it, just kind of like covering it up. And then down the line, it could open up again and more problems. That's why people are in an endless loop and cycle, okay? Really, one way about it, if there's not much you can do to break away from a certain problem or to break away from a certain problematic human, they become dead to you. That is the method, but it's probably one of the hardest ones to do naturally and purely, right? To physically, psychologically detach from a human who could be problematic. Not always possible, I think in the days supposedly with Betty Hayward guidance where they physically or mentally couldn't detach themselves from Jim Terry's channel because it wasn't the right time, it was awkward, it was messy, it was hard to break away, like how it was for them. But I guess as soon as they did break away, they didn't return back. They didn't return back. When it comes to Watch of Crazy, see, I don't know all these characters where they originally came from, but I think maybe Watch of Crazy came from Salty Pancake's channel after some time, then arrived here, and then maybe appeared at Jim Terry's as well. And despite everything that went down and all the badness, then Watch of Crazy returned back to Salty Pancake's channel a few months ago. I don't know what that was all about. But yeah, was it the method of moving on, forgiving, forgetting, moving on, making friends with enemies once again? I just don't think that's a healthy or true thing to do. I mean, I've been a lone wolf, which is considered one of the most consistent things out there. Not once have I pledged allegiance, not once have I bent over backwards. Pure, consistent, maybe the only human out there. I am the only human within the Dylan Rounds case that has remained consistent, pure, and a lone wolf. Very unique in its own right, I would say. And by being this way, yeah, you can argue there's some limitations, of course, but it's also eliminated and prevented bad things from happening. And surely that's a good thing, right? To prevent bad stuff from happening. You'll always get conflict, you'll always get disagreement. Some of it is healthy and it's needed, but other areas can go a bit too far. But if some people let it happen, or people repeat actions and behavior or return back to places, what do you expect? Like if you in 2015 escaped from Syria and then thought, oh, I'll return back now. Well, at the time, and you think, oh, why am I getting shot at? Well, it's probably because, you know, you escaped from there in the first place for a reason. Returning back after a few weeks or month isn't going to change anything. And that's like how it is on YouTube. You know, why do people say YouTube streets? What is it? Some kind of alleyways of prostitution or something? I don't understand why people word it that way. I just call it YouTube platform, YouTube community, true crime community, a subgroup, like subreddit. Yeah, that's the way I say it. If anyone has suddenly joined, welcome. It's probably best advised that you rewind back to catch up on anything. If anyone's interested in my previous video, of course, make sure to check my earlier or previous video out, available on my channel. Fairly easy to access. Okay. Do I have any more predictions with the Dylan Rounds case? I just think that there'll be endless cycles, and I think there'll be long-term grudges, and I think there will be future communities and allegiances which may have established ever since, and they will implode eventually. And more people, or the same people, will get involved in more conflict, right? With these current ongoing additional cases in the background, that's what helps as a distraction, but it's what happens when there's nothing left to cover or when there's not as much going on. Then there'll be more references, more reflection on past stuff. And, you know, even when channels, chats, live streams and live panels do their reflection of what happened last year or what happened at the end of this year and the case of Dylan and the people involved and the bad eggs, just the smallest slight references to a person's name can trigger it all off like a volcano, right? I mean, certain things I've referred to is because I'm crediting somebody that covered something or found something in some way or another, right? And even just mentioning one person's name was enough to get them over onto my channel in the page of the chat and start whinging and whining Mr. Impetuous, right? That even when the key problematic people are not present, some of their informants may be, or some casual viewers may just so happen to watch these videos but also watch other people's because they're interested in numerous channels, but when they do move over to elsewhere, the whole personality and behavior changes, and they may also reference what was mentioned elsewhere, which then triggers other people in that group to then come over here or to other people's, right? I think we can acknowledge that maybe there is a shift between straight-faced people in one community like this, and then suddenly, and something like that. You know, I'm sure my wooden smile face would probably break some cameras somewhere. I did scare a few people in real life when I did smile for the first time. That's why it's easier keeping a straighter face. It's more simple. Anyway, yeah, I do think people suddenly change, split personality, maybe with different communities. Who knows? But yeah, they're my predictions in general. And besides the Dylan Rounds case, for as long as all these people are alive in this world, there'll always be grudges. Okay, and it depends when it comes back round into the full cycle once again. Time will tell. Or maybe not, depending where I'm at or what I'm covering. It could be away from all that, of course. Anyway, I think after this video, I'm going to upload whatever the fuck I have to upload, right? I've got tons of videos to upload, tons of potential failure, for sure. For sure, there is high chance that I will fail, that my channel will fail. But I've got a lot of videos to upload, and they might as well be uploaded so they don't go to waste. Then once loosened up, kind of like a workout, then maybe I can focus elsewhere. If in between there is breaking news on something, then of course it's going to be covered one way or another, believe that. I mean, the Christine Passé Parker case, that's kind of gone a bit silent since, so of course there's only so much I can cover, right? I think there might be the odd email I need to look at and try and understand, but you know, still got other videos to upload and whatnot and see what happens from there. I know people said they want UFO alien coverage. I understand that. Am I as passionate about it? Not as much, right? So recall experience is going to be limited and maybe not as utilized. And statistically speaking, not many people did watch the UFO videos, so it seems a little bit pointless time. There's no harm in covering it every now and then, especially at times if it's a video request or an idea from somebody that has contributed to the channel, like with the super chats. You know, that needs to be acknowledged, whether it be a custom emoji because of the super chats by someone, or maybe a video request, right? As for the light-hearted videos, I'm sure they can still remain. It just depends what the material and talking points are at the time. And yeah, I mean, there might have been times in the past where maybe some videos or edits could have been done around a person, but then I thought, no, because then that would be two-faced, considering what things were like before, and then it's changed and it's switched. No, because I've seen it elsewhere, just in general, where people have been at each other's ends. Actually, that sounds a bit wrong. I don't know how you'd word it, but they've been at it. No, that sounds worse. They've been on top of one another. No. They've locked jaws with one another. That's it. And then suddenly the next day, they're all laughing and smiling and joking and having a good time. It's like, what? How does it go from aggressive or dark or conflict, and then suddenly it's all laughing and joking? It's like, which one's the real one? Which one's serious and which one isn't? Is it all a joke? Or memory loss? That is not stable. I think I've seen that quite a few times, especially within the case and the community. So best avoiding that, I would say. Yeah. Anyway, we'll leave it there for now. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully there was a bit more focus and light shone upon that dead person found within the Dylan Rounds case investigation in the early days. If you've got any additional comments or questions, list them down below, and feel free to check out the links posted in the pinned comments section. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Goodbye and good night.